we'll keep it pushing because we got this the bantamweight Ultimate Fighter finale between Ricky Tercios minus 160 versus Brady Heistan plus 135. I last week on the podcast I said I kind of like Brady Heistan on this mainly because of the number. You were getting plus money on Brady. I thought this was going to be a war, a very good matchup. I didn't think one guy was clearly better than the other, but Brady was getting plus money. And so I did like, from a betting perspective, the plus money on Brady. But I did know this was a superly closely matched fight. Brady's super young. Tercios has been around the block a few more times. Brady Heistan, he trains up in Washington with like Chiesa and those people up there. I think Spokane, Washington. And he's a young guy, young prospect. But he was one of those guys on the show. Everybody thought he was going to like get overwhelmed. And one of the guys he fought on the Ultimate Fighter he was like this guy, his name is escaping me right now, but he actually was in the UFC, found out he had like some brain disease, was out of UFC for like 5 years or some shit, and now he's like back on the Ultimate Fighter, finally cleared from his doctor. So he was like a veteran guy, and that's who I think he fought in the semifinal, Brady. And a lot of people thought that Brady was going to lose that fight just because like experience and all that, because Brady's literally the youngest guy on the Ultimate Fighter, not ever, but just this season. And he ended up beating that veteran guy pretty handily. And then, like I said, Tercios in his semifinal fight, forget the guy he fought, but he was in an absolute war. Like he won. I think it was a decision, but I mean he was like bloodied up, beat up. It was a war, and so that's why in all of Brady's fights he won them like easily, like came out not with essentially without a scratch. So I felt pretty good about Brady, but I didn't know it was going to be a scrap, and boy, did it deliver. This got fight of the night, correct? No?
So kind of. So Dana said he was going to give them an unofficial fight of the night. So they weren't each going to get 50, but they were going to get a Dana Duffel on the side just as like a thank you guys killed it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Because, this fight delivered. These guys were so evenly matched up. God, Tercios is one of those guys where, and this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, but it's really kind of where MMA's developed. I don't feel like he's great in any one position, but in the in-between positions, he's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
The transition for like whenever he would get taken down and be able to attack from the minute he was on his back, it was masterful, but he also didn't have the worst takedown defense. He's pretty good at stand-up striking. Like, he kind of was a well-rounded guy.
Like, I wouldn't like Tercios in a pure grappling match or a pure kickboxing match. I think he would get destroyed in either one. But in mixed martial arts, where it's like it lives in that gray area in between and the scrambles and the transitions, it's a unique style, right? Because it's almost like he kind of has a reactionary style. And like, because I don't feel like there's necessarily a place that he wants to like take it, or like you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he has like one thing he necessarily hangs his hat on. Now, Brady was the opposite. Brady wanted this fight on the ground and wanted to wrestle and wanted to grapple. But yeah, it's an interesting clash of styles.
No, for sure. I mean, early on, I thought Brady looked really dominant in the grappling as far as like being able to get to the legs, get a takedown, kind of stay on top. But Tercios was throwing up triangles like a madman from the bottom. All kinds of like trying to go for arm bars with the triangles, like
elbows, and honestly, the bottom.
The damage he'd get with the elbows whenever you get the triangle halfway locked in, I thought was enough for me to give him the round 10-9 just on the damage he was able to do to Brady.
It was a really tough round to score. Brady had two big takedowns. Like, I know you're not supposed to score him any differently, but they were pretty impressive and dominant big takedowns. And then, but you're exactly right, more damage for Tercios. But I thought Brady dictated where the fight took place. I don't know. I had a razor thin, an absolute heater. It was a lot of fun. I leaned Brady. Like I said, maybe I'm a little biased, but I mean, I thought it was a coin flip. Like I said, Tercios did have more damage, but he didn't really like control. And I'm not using the word control like it's usually used. I mean, like, I feel like he had no input on like what happened in the fight. Now, his reactions were fire. And the scramble, and he made chicken salad out of chicken shit. But I don't feel like they said he was very reactionary. I don't feel like he like imposed his will. Like, I feel like he like played the game Brady wanted to play. However, he was really good at the game. You know what I'm saying? But it was like, I thought Brady was the one kind of dictating where this fight took place. I don't know. Hard one to score. I went Brady. You went Tercios. Just really kind of sums it up. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, essentially that's how the two judges had it 10-9 to Tercios in the first. One judge had it 10-9 to Brady in the first. So, like, first was a really 50-50 round. It was what was your valuation of how you score fights is essentially what the first round was.
Yep. And then round two, surprise, surprise, another banger. Now, I thought this round was clearer for Brady. I thought
so too. I thought it was all over the place as far as where it was taking place, like the actual stand up versus ground, like where the fight actually happened. It was all over the place. But I thought Brady was doing a good job.
Like this was a mixed martial arts fight. Certain fights, like for example, the main event, Giga versus Barbosa. You still show somebody that, and like it's going to be kind of hard to difficult to like explain how it's different than kickboxing or Muay Thai. But like
for sure,
this was like if you want to show an alien that's never seen like mixed martial arts and like all of the areas of which it could take place, this was like the tape I would put on.
Yeah, especially when you see Tercios in transition, the amount of attacks he'd get off in transition phases where Brady would have to like stop what he was doing and be like, I can't be here now. Like, I got to change where I'm at. It was a nice little chess match.
For a young fighter to solve as well.
For sure.
So round two, I had a 10-9 high stand, but like I said, plenty of bright spots in there for Tercios. I mean, very, very, very competitive round. So I have this one for high stand as well. Did you?
Yeah, so I had it 19-19 after two, going to the final round.
I had it 2018, but a fucking nut hair razor thin 2018. Now, round three, I thought Tercios' best round of the fight. He really ended strong. Just his pace. I thought he still had a little more in the gas tank. It was a little fresher than Brady in the third.
Thought so too. But you look at Brady's game plan of just consistently being on the attack and wrestling and grappling and grinding.
Oh, I know.
Which was his style on The Ultimate Fighter too. Like, I'm not going to say that he wasn't always all up on guys and like really just like being the no quit guy. But I mean, yeah, Tercios started to overcome that, and I thought was the fresher guy with the last 3 minutes of the fight.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely had round three for Tercios. So yeah, and it's crazy. Our scores fall right in line with the judges. We do have a split decision here. Two judges agreed with you. One judge agreed with me. I am not going to die on any hills. This fight was as competitive as it gets. He said a lot of things open for interpretation. It really comes down to how you saw round one, which we already went over. Because, round two, pretty clearly Brady. Round three, I thought pretty clearly Tercios, but just how you saw round one was totally up for interpretation, and that's what this fight came down to. I said, I had it Brady high stand on my card by a fucking nut here. The judges went Tercio. Two of them did. One of them agreed with me. Not mad at any of it. Really grateful that we got to watch this and enjoy it. And I thought it was cool that this fight was to get a UFC contract, and there's 0% chance they don't both walk away with UFC contracts. So, like,
I was just going to say the exact same thing.
Yeah. No, they're both in the UFC. I mean, more bantamweights. I mean, as if we needed that.
As if we needed them.
I think it was a little interesting that they did choose bantamweights because that's already, like, so loaded with prospects. But
I know it.
It is what it is.
You would have thought they would have tried to find, like, some flyweight prospects or, like, some lightweights.
Man, Brady's so damn young. I wonder if he could make flyweight. But
that'd be interesting, especially with his style.
Yeah, it would. But yeah, and then Tercio's not the biggest bantamweight himself. Pretty small guy. I mean,
both guys kind of small when you really think about it.
Yeah, compared to like the O'Malley's and the the different guys that you see, Ricky Simone's and the
Ricky Simone's a good example of a guy that's pretty thick at that weight.
I think he moved up to featherweight if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, you see some big bantamweights. I wonder if any of these guys could find some success at flyweight, especially like I said, high stand's really young. But yeah, this fight was an absolute war, an absolute treat. I hope they both get contracts and Dana Duffels. Looking forward to what these guys can bring. I want to hear your reaction to this Tercios as like a character, though. What do you need?
Dude, what a fucking crazy weirdo. Did you see him bring his karaoke mic to the press fight or post-fight press conference?
Oh yeah,
What
man.
the hell was that? Singing
Did you see
Freebird?
Freebird?
Like, what
Hey
the
man,
hell?
I think it's smart though. I think like it's different. It's. I think that you can market that. I think there's a fan base out there for that.
Oh no, there for sure is. There's for sure people that are like, oh, did you see him sing Freebird? That's my favorite. For me, I'm just like, what the hell are you doing?
But he is an oddball. He is an oddball. He's really big on
Yeah,
like the energy from my soul to the heavens and like that type of shit. But I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? He won the Ultimate Fighter. Um, it was a fun season Ultimate Fighter. Like I said, both of these. I think we emerged with two stud bantamweights. It's like it's weird though. Even though Brady lost, I think his style like translates to UFC victories better than Tercios's. Like
for
I
sure.
could see him getting a lot more like the control time. We all know that's a good way to win fights. Like Tercios, I could see him just like he's got to stop like playing the other guy's game. You know what I mean? Like he's got to find a way to like find what he's trying to do and go implement that and be like less reactionary. I could just see a lot of scenarios where Tercios ends up on bottom for a lot of fights.
Um, for me, Tercios, when he fights a specialist, he's gonna struggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's what I really
Somebody who has,
think.
because that's what I'm saying. Because if he fights a guy like a Dagestani who wants to be on top for 3 rounds, I don't think that they're like he's gonna go there with him. He's gonna try to play the jiu-jitsu game, the elbows from the bottom game, and I think there's gonna be some fights where Tercios can get Kevin Holland. If you know what I'm saying, like
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
controlled. And Brady, I could see him doing a lot of controlling and winning a lot of fights that way. So we'll see. We'll see who has the better career. It's fun. It's almost like two guys in the same draft class, which you get in other sports like Luca and Trey. Like their careers will all forever be compared. Like you don't get that really in UFC because I mean you can contender series, but in the old Ultimate Fighter guys. But lately it's just a lot of guys from other countries doing last minute debuts and fight night prelims and early prelims. Like it's you don't get like a draft class to compare like Melo, LeBron, and D Wade. Like
Right.
and the Ultimate Fighter gives us a little bit of that, which is a guy who kind of came over from traditional sports. I like following stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ultimate Fighter's Dana says he's going to keep that show around for as long as he's at the UFC, regardless of if it does good in ratings or not. Because he's like, I just think it's a good thing to have for the organization as a
It's
whole.
way better than the Contender Series, and I think that the results prove that. Like the Contender Series guys don't usually go on to do all that much, and the Ultimate Fighter has produced multiple champions. Whatever it is, something about that competition in the house or being coached for extended periods of time, I think it really benefits these fighters. Um, Now, let me ask you this. I don't know the answer to this, but do you know why it went away? And how, like, it went away for what, like 3 years or something like that?
I think
Or
like
like,
2 years because they didn't do it during COVID. Obviously, couldn't really get together to do it.
oh, was
And then
it
they,
just COVID?
yeah, but then they were saying the year before that was going to be the last season. Like they were like, all right, like this will be the last one. Like we're done. And then they were playing with the idea of bringing it back. And then COVID hit, and they were like, well, that's obviously not going to happen. And then we got through it all, and Dana was like, you know what? I want them to be coaches. Talking about Volkanovski and Ortega, he was like, I want them to be coaches on the Ultimate Fighter, like to build up their fight. And that's honestly the
Okay,
other part of it that's great is it builds major name fighters
it
as
does.
people outside
It
of just
does.
their fight skills.
It does. 100%, man. And then, but yeah, we'll keep it pushing to the middleweight Ultimate Fighter finale. We have Brian Battle. We already talked about him a little bit earlier. Last pick on Volkanovski. Ends up beating Petrosky, the #1 pick in the semifinals. Kind of underdog story. He used to be like 280 pounds. He walked into an MMA gym to like essentially get in shape and give it a shot. Now he's fighting at middleweight 185. He's super athletic and jacked and a cool personality. Seems like a great dude. Um, he's fighting Gilbert Urbina, who he had two older brothers on the Ultimate Fighter. He actually lost his semifinal match. He actually got finished. He kind of didn't look great. But the guy who actually beat him, I think, tore his meniscus or something. So he actually got the call to be on this fight. I pretty much knew Battle was going to win. If there was a better number on him, I definitely would have put some money down. He was minus 180. I mean, not horrible, but I mean, I don't have the kind of cheddar just to lay a big amount to make it worth it. But I felt great about Battle going into this one. This wasn't hindsight 2020. I felt great about Battle going into this one. And you know, round one, I gotta say, Urbina surprised me. I was shocked. I thought that Urbina was gonna be outclassed. I thought Urbina came out and won the first round 10-9, mainly from kind of we were talking about with Tosios and Highstand is Urbina controlled where the fight took place. And I think
Yeah.
that, was very important because I think Battle had a marked advantage in the stand-up in the kickboxing.
It was just weird because Urbina was getting the better of the exchanges, essentially due to the fact that he was deciding when the engagements occurred and where they occurred at. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he controlled the range super, super well. And Brian Battle was kind of trying to figure out the range, but was eating a lot of shots to figure that out. And that's why I thought Urbina won the first round to me.
me too. I actually gave round one to Urbina too. And you know what it looked like? It looked like a guy that's been fighting his whole life versus a guy that got in the sport later in life, which is exactly what it
For
was.
sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
I thought that's a good way to sum it up. But round two, man, Battle was able to get the rear naked choke 2 minutes and 15 seconds in. And it was impressive. Just as I said, I thought Battle was going to have to use his stand-up to win this fight. And to actually submit the grappler, I thought it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I thought it was super impressive. And like, as soon as he got to Urbina's back, Urbina just looked a little tired too in the second round, man. I don't know if he like had a big adrenaline dump in the first round and like really blew his load and did like everything he could. And maybe that's why he looked so good in the first round was like he was trying to fight a 5-minute fight.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe Battle learned something, even though
Or
he
maybe
lost
Battle's
one.
just slow. Maybe he just slow started, and then actually caught on.
Maybe Battle was scared of shooting his low. Yeah, it's hard to tell, but it ended with Battle being the Ultimate Fighter middleweight finale winner. And he's one of those guys, I hope they kind of slow roll him. I think he needs a lot of seasoning. But I think he has a high ceiling. I think he's like one of these quarterbacks that you draft him and you need to let him sit for a couple of years, like Mahomes or like Aaron Rodgers. Like the talent's there. He got into the sport later in life. I think he needs some fights under his belt. And like I said, I hope they don't just start throwing him top 15 guys. I hope they give him the O'Malley treatment. You know what I mean? And I hope they just build him up. I think he has a lot of potential. I think his personality, I think his looks, I think he's marketable. I think he could be a star. I just think that they have to kind of like make sure that happens. They can't just throw him to the wolves or throw him to the wolves, but it kind of makes the Ultimate Fighter lose credibility if those guys don't go on to have good careers. I don't know. Obviously, you kind of want to find that balance. You don't want to give him just cans, but I do think he needs some seasoning, but I think the potential's there.
I think that's mostly what it is like if you're an Ultimate Fighter winner, they give you a very favorable path because they love to build up the Ultimate Fighters to be top 10 guys because they wouldn't usually make it to the end of the Ultimate Fighter if they didn't have that sort of skill set and potential. It's just getting them there against UFC competition. But, I mean, if you think about all the UFC or the Ultimate Fighter finale fighters, not even necessarily winners, but just the guys that have fought in the final, talking about like guys like Kevin Gastelum, who's the guy that just lost recently? He beat Anderson Silva. Real powerful 185. Uriah Hall.
Yeah,
right. Like you have all these guys that are.
Well, that season with the strawweight women produced essentially every strawweight star that we have. I mean, they were all on that season.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So, like, at a point, it's just worth it to keep the show around because you get so many quality fighters. And they do a good job. Mike Kiss, the Ultimate Fighter guy, they do a good job of building their Ultimate Fighters up. Like they always try to keep them around and give them favorable paths, and they do test them at times. And I'm not saying to make it easy. No fight in the UFC is easy, but it's definitely like a part of their brand when you're an Ultimate Fighter winner. So when you're part of the brand, it only helps to promote you.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, man, Battle was one of my favorite guys like the whole season. Like he never got involved like in no drama. It seemed like just the coolest guy. He was like, man, I'm just here to fight, and like I love my family, and I don't know, seems like a cool guy, and like he wasn't like getting caught up in the mix. And yeah, I was happy to see him win it. But